On May 3, 1918, Charlie Soong died in Shanghai at 56. While he had died relatively young, he had seen and done more in his 56 years than most. Today, we are delving into the life of Charlie Soong. Charlie's story is an extraordinary one of rags to riches, power and wealth, revolution, and the creation of one of the most influential families in modern China. Charlie Soong was born on Hainan Island, then a part of the Qing Empire, in 1863 to a modest family of Hakka Chinese ancestry. Like many men from southern China in the late 19th century, Charlie sought his fortune overseas. At 11 or 12, he found his way to the Dutch East Indies, corresponding to modern-day Indonesia. There, Charlie was an indentured servant to another Chinese immigrant family. Charlie quit this job after just a few years and sought his fortune elsewhere. This was to become a recurring pattern in Charlie's life. As luck would have it, a distant relative whose family owned a silk and tea shop in Boston, Massachusetts, offered him a job, and Charlie gladly accepted. A bright-eyed Charlie sailed into Boston Harbor in the summer of 1878 and caught his first glimpse of a country he and his children would forever be linked to. However, Charlie, being the restless young man that he was, didn't stay at the job for very long. In January of 1879, Charlie's name was registered onto the muster of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter, the USS Albert Gallatin, as a ship's boy, and he began his life as a sailor. By 1880, Charlie would re-enlist for another term of duty with the Coast Guard. Just 4 months into his new term, Charlie transferred to another cutter in Wilmington, North Carolina. Now living in Wilmington, Charlie began attending the Fifth Street Methodist Church and was soon baptized. Charlie was undoubtedly an unusual sight for the white congregation. Regardless, members of the congregation immediately saw great potential in him as a Christian missionary. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, Western colonial expansion coincided with an evangelical revival throughout the English-speaking world, leading to large-scale missionary activity in China. Throughout that time, thousands of Protestant men and women from the United States and Britain lived and worked in China, sometimes for their entire lives, and dedicated themselves to spreading the gospel. In Charlie, congregation members saw the makings of the ultimate missionary, a person who understood both East and West and spoke Chinese and English. With the financial support of Julian Carr, a fellow congregation member and prominent tobacco magnate of Bull Durham fame, Charlie began his theology and English language studies in earnest. Through his connections and influence, Carr had Charlie enrolled at Trinity College, later renamed Duke University. Charlie would later transfer to Vanderbilt University, where he would receive a degree in theology in 1885. In 1886, Charlie sailed into the Huangpu River aboard a steamer and saw his homeland for the first time since his departure in the 1870s. While not his native Hainan Island, Shanghai would undoubtedly have been preferable to him as an Americanized Chinese Christian. In the latter part of the 19th century, Shanghai was one of the many so-called treaty ports forced to open to Western trade. These treaty ports had areas governed by Western powers, called concessions. Shanghai had concessions administered by Britain, the United States, and France, with the British and Americans combining their concessions in 1863. These concessions afforded Chinese and foreigners alike the comforts and benefits of Western civilization, including modern infrastructure and a degree of freedom not found within the Qing Empire. Charlie Soong began his work as a missionary on the outskirts of Shanghai, quickly learning the local dialect. As a missionary, Charlie was provided with housing and a modest salary. But within a few years, the old, restless Charlie would reappear. Possibly because of his modest salary, the sheer dullness of preaching, or the draw of cosmopolitan Shanghai, he gave up missionary work. Instead, he set out to become a businessman, and he succeeded with flying colors, eventually becoming the proprietor of a flour mill, cotton mill, and a publishing house that printed Bibles. Charlie also started a family, marrying Ni Kuai-tseng, the daughter of a prominent Chinese Christian family, in 1888. By 1906, Charlie and Kuai-tseng had 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. Their 4 eldest children, including daughters Ailing, Qingling, Meiling, and eldest son, Ziwen, would play important roles in Republican China. Now a wealthy man living comfortably inside one of Shanghai's foreign concessions, Charlie began devoting his time and financial resources to a new endeavor. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Qing dynasty was on its last legs. China had become weak and corrupt after the encroachment of Western powers and the Empire of Japan. As a result, revolutionary groups and organizations began to sprout throughout China to overthrow the Qing monarchy and establish a republic. Among them was the Tongmin Hui, led by Sun Yat-sen. Having much in common with Sun, Charlie became his close confidant and fellow revolutionary. They were both Western educated, Sun in Hong Kong and Hawaii. Both were from southern China, and both determined to modernize China. Charlie acted as treasurer for the organization, managing its finances and raising funds. Julian Carr, Charlie's American benefactor, was among the many donors to the organization's coffers. By 1911, the Qing monarchy had been overthrown, and a republic had been established with Sun Yat-sen as the provisional president. Now living in a large home on Seymour Road in the combined British and American concession, known as the International Settlement, Charlie focused on preparing his children to serve the new republic. He ensured all his children received the best Western education money could buy, enrolling them into Shanghai's most prestigious private schools, including the McIntyre School for Girls, established by American Methodist missionary Young Allen, and St. John's College, founded by American Episcopalian missionary William J. Boone. Upon completing secondary school in Shanghai, all 6 children would enroll in American colleges and universities, including Wesleyan College in Georgia, Wellesley College, and Harvard University in Massachusetts, Columbia University in New York City, and Charlie's alma mater, Vanderbilt University in Tennessee. On May 3, 1918, Charlie took his last breath. The cause of death remains undetermined to this day. However, stomach cancer and a form of kidney disease have been cited by many historians. Unfortunately, or luckily, Charlie would never see the full extent of his children's power and influence. His eldest daughter, Ailing, married into a prominent banking family descended from the philosopher Confucius. Her husband, H. Gong, became the Minister of Finance and Premier of the Republic of China. He served as China's chief delegate to the International Monetary and Financial Conference in 1944, where he signed the Bretton Woods Accord. After the communist victory in China, the couple and their children lived in New York. To his dismay, his second daughter, Qingling, married his fellow revolutionary, Sun Yat-sen, who was 26 years her senior. Charlie never spoke to Qingling or Sun again. After the communist victory in China, Qingling remained on the mainland and rose to become the vice chairwoman of the People's Republic of China. His third daughter Mei Ling married Chinese nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek in 1927 and served as his first lady, first in mainland China and later in Taiwan. Mei Ling is most recognized as China's spokesperson during the Second World War, especially for her address to the US Congress in 1943. After her husband died in 1975, she relocated to New York. Charlie's eldest son, Ziwen, like his brother-in-law, would also serve as the finance minister and premier of the Republic of China. He relocated to New York following the communist victory on the mainland. Charlie's two youngest sons, Ziliang and Zian, did not get involved in politics. Instead, they held prominent positions in banking and business. They also relocated to the US after the founding of the People's Republic of China. Today, the legacy of the Soong family remains controversial in China and Taiwan. Whether admired or hated, Charlie Soong's life is universally regarded as an extraordinary story of how a poor boy from Hainan founded one of the most influential families in modern China.